Chelsea-Liverpool, I'm going with a Liverpool going to win this game, man.
In terms of the passing, their movement and connecting passes and not giving the ball away. That's the only thing that I want Liverpool to do at the weekend. Because talent-wise, I think the street's ahead of Chelsea.
Chelsea going to win 3-2. We're going to win 3-2.
Enzo Maresca's Chelsea team started the season under siege, from pundits, from fans, from fate itself.
Again, 3-1. It's 3-1. It's 3-1. It's 3-1. You absolute idiots.
Injuries tore the plan apart. Pressure made believers turn doubtful.
Realign, readjust your expectations for the season. I'm realigning my expectations immediately. I'm realigning my expectations right now because on every level, on all levels, we are failing.
Every headline asked the same question. Was he out of his depth? They called his football too slow, too calculated. They said he was trying to be Pep in a league that eats ideas for breakfast. Chelsea faced Liverpool and Maresca's calm finally found its reward. Against the odds, Chelsea didn't just survive. They outplayed, outthought, and outlasted one of Europe's most intense sides. And when the final whistle blew, it wasn't just a win, it was a message. In football, managers are judged by trophies, by results, by how quickly they win over the crowd. But sometimes what defines them most are the storms they survive before the applause. This is not a story about tactics alone. It's a story about patience, pressure, and the night belief came back to Stamford Bridge. And by the end, you'll understand how Enzo Maresca's Chelsea silenced their critics. Last season ended with a promise. Enzo Maresca arrived, steadied a fractured club, and delivered 2 trophies that felt like a reset. Chelsea swept the UEFA Conference League with a 4-1 comeback over Real Betis and Wrocław, and weeks later, lifted the FIFA Club World Cup with a 3-0 win against Paris Saint-Germain in New Jersey. Structure, identity, belief, it was all back, or so it seemed. For the first time in years, the blue half of London dared to dream again. The project, they said, was finally taking shape. The Italian from Pontecagnano had brought structure, discipline, and a style of football that promised long-term greatness. But dreams in football are fragile things. The 2025-26 Premier League campaign began not with celebration, but with suffocating pressure. Expectations had shifted from hope to entitlement. Fans who once pleaded for patience now demanded dominance. The media began asking whether Enzo Maresca, a man who had spent most of his managerial life in the lower divisions, was truly ready to steer one of England's biggest clubs through the storm of top-flight competition. August 17th, 2025, Stamford Bridge. Chelsea opened the Premier League with a 0-0 draw against Crystal Palace. Control without incision, a disallowed Eze free kick by VAR, and the first murmur that Maresca's careful football might be missing a blade. Maresca's system, built on positional rotations, inverted fullbacks, and an obsession with control, began to show its cracks. When it worked, Chelsea looked majestic, calm, organized, suffocating opponents through calculated passing lanes. But when it didn't, it looked static, predictable, and painfully fragile in transition. Season openers don't define anything, but this one set the mood. Tidy, tense, unfinished. September 13th, Brentford. A punch to the ribs. Chelsea came from behind and were minutes from a statement win, only to concede in stoppage time for 2-2. Maresca called it 2 points dropped. The table agreed. This was the kind of moment that turns patience into noise. Europe returned on September 17th. Munich. Bayern dry, Chelsea 1. Harry Kane's double and a ruthless late finish underlined the gap at the very top on Chelsea's Champions League return. They played, they competed, and they learned how thin the margin is when a giant smells blood. September 20th, Old Trafford. In a downpour, the season's theme sharpened. Red cards. Robert Sanchez was dismissed after 5 minutes. United won 2-1 despite later going down to 10 themselves.
Amaro and Neto could bring them, so I think the change was strange, but thankfully it helped United.
Games don't survive early chaos, and Chelsea weren't surviving theirs. September 27th, Stamford Bridge. Brighton at home became a collapse. Trevoh Chalobah's 53rd minute red card flipped a 1-0 lead into a 1-3 defeat. Headlines wrote themselves. Chelsea fail the red card test again. Discipline had become a storyline as costly as any missed chance.
I mean, mate, we are talking about world club champions here. Their problem, the biggest problem in my opinion, is defensively.
Compounding the struggle was an injury crisis that ripped through Chelsea's defensive core. Levi Colwill, one of Maresca's most trusted ball-playing defenders, was ruled out with a season-ending ACL injury. Wesley Fofana remained sidelined due to concussion. Also one of the summer signings, Delap, who started the season really well, is sidelined, while Tosin Adarabayoyo and Cole Palmer both face spells on the treatment table. October 1st, Benfica. The first European win of the campaign came 1-0. Jose Mourinho's return spoiled by an early own goal, but even on a good night, the pattern held. A third Chelsea red card in 4 matches, João Pedro dismissed late. Maresca rejected the idea of a discipline problem, but the numbers were starting to talk. All of this played out against a backdrop Maresca couldn't control: injuries. On the eve of Liverpool, Maresca said they were missing 7 or 8 players through injury and suspension. It wasn't excuse-making, just the hand he'd been dealt. Across those weeks, the narrative hardened, and by early October, Chelsea had bled points and composure, and every pundit panel sounded the same: too slow, too calculated, too fragile when the game turned wild. The table didn't shout crisis, but the mood did. That's the canvas that led to Liverpool, a team accused of playing with the handbrake on. A manager accused of overcoaching, a squad stretched by suspensions and physio notes. In the build-up, Maresca faced cameras and spoke quietly about vulnerability. Mostly Liverpool's, but it could have been his own reflection. 7 or 8 out, the champions coming to town, and all that doubt humming like floodlights before kickoff. Chelsea didn't just need a result, they needed a night that could change the conversation. By the time October arrived, Chelsea were running out of patience, points, and players. Every game felt heavier than the last. Every press conference sounded more defensive than hopeful.
After the Man United game, I think happened again today. First half, we scored 1, we could score more than 1. We create chances, we didn't concede nothing. And then after 6-7 minutes, because of our mistake, and again, change the game.
The promise of Maresca's project was fading under the glare of English football's most demanding spotlight. And then came the fixture that would test everything: Chelsea versus Liverpool. It wasn't just another Premier League game. It was a meeting between two worlds. Liverpool, full of energy, speed, and chaos. A team rebuilt under Arne Slot that pressed like a storm. Chelsea, still trying to find rhythm and calm in the middle of constant noise. One team chasing titles, the other fighting for identity. They weren't wrong about the circumstances. Maresca's list of absentees looked like an injury ward. Colwill, Fofana, and Tosin were still out. Palmer and Delap out. The team sheet was patched together with youth and improvisation. And yet, in his press conference, Maresca looked calm. When asked how he planned to face a side that hadn't lost in 3 games, he smiled slightly and said, "We control what we can control. We play our football." It was quiet confidence, but confidence nonetheless. Fans didn't share it. Many feared the worst.
It's the same thing. We're shooting ourselves in the head.
Social media was filled with predictions of a Liverpool win, some even mocking Chelsea's lineup before a ball was kicked. Stamford Bridge tickets sold out, but the mood was uneasy. Supporters wanted a miracle. Few truly expected one. Still, there was something about this game that felt bigger than the table. For Maresca, it wasn't just about points. It was about credibility, the chance to silence months of ridicule in 90 minutes. And for Liverpool, it was about momentum. They had dropped points in Europe and were desperate to respond. Arne Slot's men were chasing Arsenal at the top, and everyone expected them to roll through a wounded Chelsea side. Everything about the build-up screamed mismatch. But football loves irony. The same game everyone predicts will break you sometimes becomes the one that defines you. The night of October 4th, 2025 arrived under lights that burned brighter than usual. Stamford Bridge looked tense but beautiful, a stadium that had seen glory and chaos in equal measure, now waiting for its next story. And as the whistle approached, there was only one question echoing through the bridge. Would this be the night Maresca's ideas finally collapsed? Or the night they came alive? From the first whistle, Liverpool pressed in waves, but Chelsea did not blink. The passing triangles were deliberate, the distances compact, the rhythm calm rather than cautious. And then, the opening. 14 minutes into the game, a clearance landed to Moises Caicedo, 20-plus yards out. He steadied, struck, and ripped a stunning drive into the top corner. Stamford Bridge detonated. Maresca did not over-celebrate. He pointed and reset his players. Liverpool would come again. And they did. After halftime, the champions accelerated their rotations between the lines. The equalizer arrived on 63 minutes. Cody Gakpo sweeping home after Liverpool found a seam. Multiple reports have the build-up flowing through Alexander Isak, whose presence between the lines helped create the opening, and for a brief stretch, the bridge fell to a hush. What followed wasn't panic, it was adjustment. Chelsea compressed the middle, recycled under pressure, and refused to trade the ball cheaply. The late passages were about control meeting courage, about absorbing the press and then choosing the moment to cut. When it came from the left. Marc Cucurella surged into space and shaped the decisive delivery. Estevão Willian, 18 years old, attacked the far post and slid the ball home in the 95th minute. It was his first Chelsea goal, a winner forged out of clarity rather than chaos. The stadium became a wave. Maresca, usually the portrait of restraint, sprinted down the touchline. Already on a caution, his celebration drew a second yellow and a red card. The image was unforgettable. A manager accused of being too rigid, exploding into the kind of joy you can't choreograph. The decision sent him to the tunnel, but it couldn't touch the meaning of the moment. The whistle sealed a 2-1 that felt bigger than the score. Reports called it a statement and confirmed the context it altered. Liverpool's third straight defeat across competitions, Arsenal perched top as a consequence, and Chelsea jolted forward in both points and belief. If there was a tactical headline, it was this: Chelsea's control held when it mattered. The assist from Cucurella validated the late-game left-side push. The statistical picture underlined the balance. Chelsea matched Liverpool for total shots, hit the target more often, and turned possession into the final action that counts. You could say this was the night Chelsea outplayed variance. You could say it was the night a young side learned to close a storm. Or you could just call it what it was: a team executing its principles under maximum pressure, a manager answering criticism with a plan and a sprint, and a teenager writing a first line that felt like a chapter.
A game that swung back and forwards a little bit. Chelsea definitely deserved it in the end.
On nights like this, tactics are the grammar, but courage is the punctuation. Coaches talk about chess. Enzo Maresca plays it. Against Liverpool, a team that builds danger from speed, pressing, and vertical transition, Maresca didn't try to out-muscle Arne Slot. He reconfigured the board. The scoreline is simple: Chelsea 2, Liverpool 1. Moises Caicedo thundered a long-range opener. Cody Gakpo leveled after 63 minutes, and 18-year-old Estevão Willian struck in stoppage time to win it. A dramatic finish that sealed Chelsea's statement. Maresca's idea in possession often resembles a compressed 3-2-5 in the build-up. A trio at the back, 2 pivots, and overloads higher up. But the crucial difference from his mentor's models isn't mimicry, it's where he inserts the extra man. Rather than rely on center backs stepping into midfield, Maresca frequently asks a fullback to invert, adding a midfielder from wide and forcing the opponent to make uncomfortable decisions. That movement creates unpredictable passing lanes and press resistance. Early on the game, the subtle geometry became obvious. Malo Gusto and Marc Cucurella rotated inside at different moments, not to be defenders but to be midfielders, to create 3v2 pockets between the lines. When Gusto came central, Reece James and Caicedo could push into the half spaces. When Cucurella inverted, it sucked Liverpool wide and opened far post lanes for runners. That exact left side maneuver would later produce the decisive assist. Coaches and tacticians noted the pattern and how it forced Liverpool's press to ask the wrong questions at the wrong time. Maresca didn't simply build triangles, he controlled tempo. When Liverpool pressed high, Chelsea lengthened the sequence. Short, safe passes to draw pressure, then one decisive vertical line. The opener was a symptom of that confidence. Moises Caicedo, given a pocket of space, measured a 25-yard drive and rifled it into the top corner. A goal born from structure and audacity, not accident. That strike changed the mood. When Liverpool recovered and found a route back, Gakpo's finish at 63 minutes, Maresca's team didn't panic. They compressed the middle, reduced vertical lanes, and kept their shape. But in the final passages, he did something riskier. He chose the moment to widen. After patiently compressing the central corridors, Chelsea suddenly pushed Cucurella higher on the left. That overload drew defenders and created a seam. The cross met Estevão's run and the 95th minute finish. It was timing more than touch moves that won the day. Arne Slot's Liverpool presses by design. Trigger the mid-press, win second balls, explode behind. Maresca forced Slot into dilemmas. If Liverpool's midfield squeezed the pivot to stop progress, fullbacks inverting created a new midfield overload. If Slot held a narrower shape to choke, central lanes, Maresca widened and attacked the channels behind the wingbacks. In short, Maresca turned Liverpool's strengths into decision points, and on the night, Liverpool's answers were sometimes late. Substitutions and even an early Konate withdrawal changed their balance. Slot confirmed post-match that Konate's substitution was precautionary after discomfort, a tweak that reshuffled defensive stability. The late introduction of Estevão, a fresh, direct runner, was not theater. It was calculation. Maresca had set the board so that a late-arriving forward could exploit the tired, stretched channels. When Cucurella picked out the far post, the teenager hit the net. The manager's sprint down the touchline, his second yellow and subsequent red, that was consequence of a strategy validated in real time. Wins make headlines. Truth is quieter. It's found in margins, in patterns, and the things that still need fixing. Chelsea beat Liverpool. They celebrated, but the job is unfinished. If Maresca's plan is to survive a Premier League season, then the match-winning tactics must become repeatable, reliable, and resilient. Chelsea created meaningful patterns of play and good shot volume, but the underlying numbers show this was not yet comfortable superiority. Chances were there, the clear-cut ones fewer. Expected goals models from the match show Liverpool actually produced the higher XG tally overall. Liverpool approximately 1.95 versus Chelsea approximately 1.14 on some trackers, meaning Chelsea's victory came from clinical moments rather than a sustainable gulf in chance creation. To avoid depending on late drama, Chelsea must convert dominant sequences into higher value final actions. Better choice in the final pass, improved composure inside the box, and smarter shooting decisions to lift shot quality, not just quantity. Injuries have been the bluntest enemy. Chelsea arrived at Stamford Bridge after weeks of absentees, Colwill, Fofana, and Tosin among those missing at various points, and that brittle depth forced Maresca into makeshift pairings and rotations. The club's current center-back options lack the proven stability of a title-challenging backline. The injury list and suspension headaches Chalobah, etc. make every selection feel like a risk. Strengthening and rehearsing a dependable defensive spine through targeted recruitment, smarter rotation, and clearer role definitions during training is essential. Chelsea's open play looked promising. Set pieces did not. Across recent matches prior to Liverpool, defensive lapses from dead ball situations and poor second phase clearing had cost goals and points. Offensively, corners and free kicks failed to result in consistent threat. A dedicated, repeatable set piece routine and clearer marking responsibilities are low effort, high return improvements that can turn narrow games into clearer wins. The tactical templates that won the night, inverted fullbacks, compressed mid-blocks, are brilliant when executed. Their chief vulnerability is transition. When possession is lost, the recovery structure must be instantaneous. Several sequences in recent fixtures show Chelsea hesitating to commit to rest defense triggers. That hesitation produced near-costly counters. Training must lock in a designated safety pivot on turnover, clearer sprint lanes for nearest cover players, and automatic triggering cues so that a team that builds patiently can also reset equally quickly. Chelsea's recent weeks have included costly dismissals and suspensions, a goalkeeper read earlier in the season, Chalobah's sending off in another match, which have repeatedly altered match plans and forced tactical compromise. Discipline, from squad decision-making and tackles to managerial touchline management, must be tightened. Fewer cards mean fewer forced changes and a steadier path to consistency. A Club World Cup winter and a congested calendar left Chelsea with shortened recovery windows and an expanding casualty list. Maresca himself cited fixture congestion as a factor in the injury tally. The club must refine rotation so that young talent and backup players are match ready without losing the team's core identity. That means planful minutes for deputies, clear role maps for players who cover multiple positions, and a sports science approach to load that prevents micro-injuries becoming long-term problems. Maresca's victories have often relied on individual moments, a Caicedo belter, an Estevao late run. To scale across a season, patterns must be less dependent on isolated acts and more on rehearsed team movements, predictable sequences that produce predictable openings. That may mean more practiced combinations between pivot and 10, clearer triggers for fullback inversions, and defined arrival lanes from late runners to create consistent high-value chances. The Liverpool win restored belief. The danger now is the pendulum. Overconfidence after one big night, or paranoia from the next poor week. Maresca must maintain a calm, process-focused culture, one that values steady progress over emotional highs and lows. After each game, the focus should be on small, measurable goals. Improving rest defense, clearing more set pieces, or increasing expected goals by 0.2. To keep this consistency, the support of sports psychologists, experienced players, and clear short-term targets will be crucial. Together, they can help the team stay focused, confident, and emotionally balanced throughout the season. Liverpool did not collapse on October 4th. They were undone by tiny margins and a few recurring faults. Champions don't break overnight. They wobble where habits, fitness, and depth collide. If Arne Slot is to steady this side, he must treat the wobble as a diagnostic, find the patterns, fix the processes, and make the small things automatic. Below is a tactical, evidence-based list of the concrete areas Liverpool must improve. Each point explains the problem, why it matters, and a clear corrective the team can implement. Ibrahima Konaté's precautionary withdrawal at Stamford Bridge exposed real depth issues at the back. With one injury, the balance of the defense shifts and Slot is forced into stopgap solutions. Konaté's substitution was confirmed as injury-related after the game. Losing a starting center back increases the chance of miscommunication, reduces aerial protection, and forces midfielders into defensive compensation, all of which create late vulnerabilities. Liverpool's makeshift adjustment saw their defensive cohesion wobble in the final passages. The squad's left channel has shown instability since high-work winger profiles left analysis and fan commentary flagged the departure of Luis Diaz as a loss of bite. The left flank lacked the consistent energy and defensive work rate that previously balanced Liverpool's front three. A weak left side forces midfield rotations, creates exploitable half spaces, and reduces the team's ability to press as a unit. Chelsea exploited that asymmetry, especially when Liverpool's wide press failed to pin Chelsea's inverted fullbacks. Recent matches show a recurring theme of late decisions, conceded stoppage time goals, or failures to close phases. Chelsea's winner was another example of a match being decided after the 90th minute. Analysts flagged fine margins, but those margins are often a symptom of poor late-game protocols. Top teams must convert draws into wins and protect slim leads. Repeated late concessions waste accumulated XG and undermine squad confidence. Small mental lapses compound physical fatigue. New signings or role changes, e.g. Florian Wirtz's adaptation, haven't consistently delivered the expected creative or finishing returns yet. Analysts point to Wirtz not being at his best and the front line lacking the decisive final actions at key moments. Critics singled out underperforming attackers for poor influence late in the game. When the front three don't consistently press, create, and finish, opposition mid-blocks can breathe. Liverpool's press is optimized when attackers contribute defensively and offensively. A flat front line erodes the team's primary identity. Slot's pressing system is dynamic, but Maresca's tactical responses exposed moments where Liverpool's triggers were mistimed, or their second phase sets were out of sync. At Stamford Bridge, Liverpool regained possession fewer times from their early presses than expected, and when press failed, reorganization lagged. Recent matches show the team's rhythm dips when rotation is piecemeal. This season's fixture congestion and minor injuries demand a coherent plan. Otherwise, form will oscillate. Champions need both a consistent first 11 and trusted deputies ready to slide in. Liverpool's season hasn't derailed. It has, however, revealed the difference between being good and being durable. Arne Slot must refine the margins, shoring up the spine, clarifying roles, fixing late-game routines, and restoring the left side balance. Do that, and the champions will stop being fragile in an instant. They'll become predictable in the best way, reliable.